So in a lot of ways, that first episode was kind of an experiment to see if this was even something that I could do. I hadn't done any serious editing in quite a number of years at that point, so I wasn't even sure if my software would be able to handle it. With this second episode, this was where I really had to start thinking about, okay, I know that I can do this in a practical sense, but how can I make this work as a series? And I think in that first episode, I had a bad habit anytime I got stuck and couldn't think of a joke, to think to myself, oh, what would little Karibo do in this situation? And from the second episode on, I realized, I can't keep doing that. I can never be a better little Karibo than little Karibo is. The best I can hope to be is a better HBI2K than little Karibo is. And I'm going to interrupt myself for a second to say that this joke here is one of my favorite from the early series. I think this is the first time that everything really clicked together and I realized, yes, this is something that I can do and do well at. And I think I got the inspiration for that joke, by the way, from The Simpsons. Not so much the joke itself, but the way that, I make the obvious joke, oh, ha, Griffith is gay for guts, but then I go beyond that and turn it into, oh, now he's trying to cover up for himself, which is still a pretty stock joke, but he does an incredibly poor job of it. Okay, that's pretty funny. And then I segue from that into a joke about the conventions of film, in which an echo always means that you're talking and kind of hanging, or thinking rather than talking, kind of hanging a lampshade on that, as they say at TV tropes. So here I come back to the whole Comic-Con thing again for a little bit. I guess I didn't forget about that right away. This episode was a real challenge for me, vocally too, because there were very few voices in that first episode, but in this one we encounter my other two main characters, Griffith and Casca, plus most of my recurring minor characters, Judo, Corcus, I think Rickardson here, plus just a whole host of extras that I had to find, little one-shot voices for. Here we've got a fight scene. This was my first, one of my first real fight scenes. One of the first ones, editing-wise, where I was able to really realize just how much I really could compress these action scenes. You can use just a few scenes to suggest this whole elaborate fight scene, which came in really useful for some of the longer fight scenes where there's not a lot of dialogue. This is where I also kind of experimented with using internal monologue to be able to add some spice to these fight scenes. Here, of course, we've got the introduction of Griffith and Casca. My Casca voice early on here, you'll notice, is a little more subtle, a little more Miss Piggy, actually. She didn't get that high, squeaky, really strident thing until later. And here I was still really figuring out how to handle some of the really dark places that Berserk goes. I do still like the peanut butter trick here, despite the fact that there's no lip sync to sync the voice with. And, raining Hawaiian punch instead of blood, another example of trying to change things around. Then juxtaposed with this, of course, the first of my still manga panels that I use to fill in the parts that the anime cuts out. I think that was where I really decided, you know what, I just need to go balls to the wall with this. No pulling, no punches. Another thing you'll notice here, especially with these, couple, second, third, fourth episodes, is that this is where I really started to intentionally try to distance myself with Little Karibo and what he was doing, and also with Vegeta and Masako and their Naruto Abridged. For a while there, I was trying to go to the opposite extreme. Instead of thinking, what would Little Karibo do? What would Vegeta do in this situation? I had to really try to think, okay, what's going to set this series apart from the other two major abridged series that were active at the time? The other big one at the time was Fro Legend, aka White Ash, and her Saikui Reload Abridged, but I hadn't seen that much at this point. And one of the things that I noticed was that most of the time they do these stingers at the end. These just little one-shot gags right after the ending, where they'd set the animation to some random audio clip from one thing or another. And I made an intentional decision that I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to end it wherever the hell I feel like. I'm not going to go out of my way to try to end on a really strong joke. And I think I got the inspiration from that from the first few seasons of South Park. They would do that a lot, where they just randomly end it on some mundane line of dialogue, which I always thought was very avant-garde and kind of cool. In retrospect, I think that some things become cliche, like those stingers, just because they work, damn it. So I did eventually start using those a little bit in Berserk and especially in Gantz. But it looks like I've gone over time and I'm probably boring everybody, so until next time.